Bam! We are live.
Ooh.
Oh, there he is, Parker. All right, everybody, welcome to Preferably Biased. My name is Ryan Grimes. I'm here with
P. Brown.
P. Brown, old Parker Brown, and
Megan Graves.
Megan Graves. All right, everybody. Hey, before we get started, Parker, do you know what monkey rodeos are?
I can imagine.
Cowboy monkey rodeos.
Yeah, what do you think that? What would you imagine?
First step, get a monkey.
Oh, okay.
Second
You're on
step,
the right track.
monkey-sized cowboy boots.
Obviously.
Okay.
Or can they wear boots? Because don't they have like hands for feet?
They're sort of boots.
Aren't feet technically hands for everybody?
Well, definitely for monkeys they are.
But like they can grip stuff with their feet.
You can't grip stuff with your feet?
What kind of feet do you have?
Not like a branch.
I can like pick shit up with my feet.
I can't.
When you're really lazy, you learn how to adapt new skills.
I have seen those people who like lose their hands and then all they have is their feet and they can like write better than I can write with my hands.
Shoot a bow and arrow and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but like if the remote is across the room or something and I can't reach it with my hand and my foot's closer, I'm just gonna pick that sucker up with my toes.
I can definitely pick up a small object. But anyway, so we were at the Keys game last night. And
what are the keys?
The keys
the
are
Frederick Keys?
Yeah, you're not from Frederick.
You're embarrassing yourself right
it's
now.
It's the local semi-pro baseball team.
Oh, how could I not know them?
They're kind of a big deal. So.
They're the keys, like the piano keys, or like a key for a lock?
The keys, like their mascot is a coyote.
Is that really what's called? The coyote?
I don't know. I'm just using context clues here.
The team's terrible. First of all, let's just address that right now.
Were they playing the Hamden Locks?
No, they were playing the Lynchburg Hillcats.
Oh, that's hilarious!
Yeah,
my brother went to Lynchburg.
Oh yeah,
Was he a Hillcat? Not a Hellcat, a Hillcat.
Hillcat.
What's a Hillcat?
It's a cat It's a cat on a hill.
Are cats indigenous to hills?
No, it's just a terrible team name. It's just a terrible
Just
name.
like the Keys.
Well, no, I'm not. They literally, like, at like the fifth inning stretch had a bunch of kids with keys with the apparently coyote mascot. And it was just like...
Wait, so like on their uniform, what is like the picture?
They spell out the word keys. That's all they do.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay.
But we went because we saw the little thing for
the Cowboy Monkey Rodeo was in town.
Yeah, and we get there and
I had to know what it was.
We didn't.
Of course. Okay, go ahead.
And it was like, we get there, there's people protesting it. And we thought it was like Lynchburg fans going like, the Keys is a terrible name, like they suck. Yeah. And it was people talking about like.
Let's just say you don't want protests from people from Lynchburg.
Yeah, right.
Well, my thing was these people took time out of their day to go protest this thing, and I wanted to be like, what about like police brutality though? Like y'all don't want to talk about that? You want to talk about this monkey rodeo right now? Like that's the hard hitting issues at hand right now. That's deserving.
So did you all go to the monkey rodeo?
It was a part of the game.
It came out like
what?
Yeah,
you didn't even have to pay extra?
No. You didn't even have to pay.
Oh my god. Nope. All right, so what happened?
Well, we were really excited about it. I was like, this sounds so fucking adorable. Like, I'm losing my shit already. And then we see it, and these monkeys are really just like strapped on against their will to dogs. To dogs.
To dogs!
To dogs. They're
full cowboy attire. Full cowboy attire, make no mistake. Little boots, little hats, whole 9 yards. But they're just like flopping around like on these dogs. God. I'm like, that animal has to be scared shitless. Like, imagine if something bigger than you picked you up, put you on something else bigger than you, but not as big as that thing, and then we're just like, go, and you're like, well, what does that mean? And you just shoot out of the gate. Like,
and the funny thing about it, not the animal cruelty was not the funny thing about it, even though like while it's happening, you completely forget about the animal cruelty.
Oh yeah,
you're just sitting there going, monkey on a dog, monkey on a dog, it's amazing. And then they leave, and you're like, that was kind of fucked up. And then they come back out again like 5 seconds after you say that. You're like, monkey on a dog! It's fucking amazing! And the people protesting gave up after like the first inning.
How many people was it?
17 like old white people, which is probably why they weren't talking about the police brutality like you were talking about.
Were they saying
well,
like...
that's the joke.
Yes.
So were they saying like it was animal cruelty or something like that?
Yeah, because you gotta strap them into the little metal boots, and then
they're harnessed to that dog.
That's probably not the bad part. The bad part is probably like the tiny cage they keep them in.
Yeah, right. All those monkeys know is the rodeo.
Like my friends,
It's a hard life to get out of.
Oh yeah, once you're in, you're in.
They gotcha.
But my friends went to the zoo like the other day, and I had never thought about this in my adult life, but like how fucked up a zoo is. Mm-hmm. Like an elephant needs like
so much space,
like a state worth of space, and you have it in like a little enclosure, or like tigers and stuff. I don't know. It just seems like weird now to keep like knowing how fucked up it is to like keep animals enclosed. Like
the fact that we still do it.
Yeah, that we still go and.
There are some places that are like sanctuaries for animals where like if they have an injured animal, like there's this aquarium that I would go to and my sister was going to school in Florida and they would have like, they had manatees like sea turtles, but it was always the animal was like injured. So they were caring for it there and then like, I think releasing it back into captivity, releasing it back into the wild. I don't know.
There's a lot of them though, like you've had them in there for so long that if you release them back in the wild, they're like immediately gonna die. Mm-hmm. I've seen one with like a python. There was some rapper meeting a python. It was hilarious just because he was so afraid of python, which I would be too. It's the biggest shit. But he was getting the eggs from it, and yeah. And python eggs they all stick together. This isn't like a zoo show, but it's a very weird thing because they were talking about if you put that thing back there, probably lasts like 2 days. Even though it's kind of like a killing machine, it wouldn't know what to do or find food.
I mean, that's the same as domesticating any animal. That's why, like, my kitten is cool chilling in my apartment when actually she's, like, a top predator.
Oh, but your cat would be fine in the wild.
No, she wouldn't.
No?
Not mine.
You haven't seen the cat. The cat,
Cats are like... I thought that cats can become street cats pretty easily. And they can, like, survive and stuff.
They're not like dogs. At the end of the day, I think she could, because she does, like, stalk and she goes after shit and all, but not to the level at which she, like, I hold her like she's a literal baby. Like, she's not a killing machine anymore. She's been fully domesticated.
I read this thing that cats, like, are pretty much DNA-wise still wild animals. Like, dogs have completely different genes and stuff from, like, dog ancestors, but cats are just... They're still pretty wild, like DNA-wise.
Well, I mean, yeah, every time you try to pet one, it just scratches the shit out of you.
Not every time. You gotta read their body language.
What sort of body language am I looking for on the cat?
Ears going back, tail flicking.
Oh, God, that was quick.
Yeah, because it's a thing. It's a thing. That's why people are like, I hate cats. Like, no, you just don't know how to read body language. And it's primarily boys who are like, cats are awful. And I'm like, did it warn you before it bit you? Any warning signs in there?
That's why I like dogs. You can like wrestle around with a dog.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And also the warning signs for a dog are a lot more obvious than the warning signs for a cat.
Yeah, they growl at you.
They growl at you. They show you their teeth.
I mean, cats can growl and hiss and all of that, but that's like an extreme situation. If you see a cat that's like tail is like, they look mad. The animal looks mad. It screams, not like, don't touch me.
Cats have like a sociopath face. Like it never changes. Like I can't read a cat unless it's like literally like about to throw like a haymaker with its paw. That's about the only time I know to get away from a cat.
Well, if you look for ears going back and a tail that's flickering,
now I know.
You'd be like, oh shit, I'm not going to touch you anymore.
I can't wait to fuck with my next cat.
Mm.
Get good at reading it.
Wait, what, are you gonna torture your cat?
I'm not gonna torture the cat, but so I mean, like, I'm not.
All right, that's bad.
I'm gonna be like Steve Irwin. Be like, oh, we got another one over here. A tiger shedded Billy, or whatever the fuck you call cats.
Not that.
Not that.
Anything but that.
All right, let's. I guess let's get into our first article today. First one. Talking about inclusivity of masturbation education in
masturbation education.
Do you guys even remember your high school sex ed?
I do.
Kind of.
I remember my middle school sex ed more because we did this really fucked up exercise where we all took like a piece of tape and stuck it to our arm and would go around the room and like take our tape off and put it on somebody else's arm, and then we'd take their tape, and we kept doing that and kept doing that. And the lesson there was that the tape got dirtier and less sticky the more that you shared it with other people. Isn't that straight fucked?
Oh yeah, because
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I went to public school. This was not like some religious based bullshit. This was public education.
Holy shit. Yeah, because every single thing, like with our sex ed, it was all just like abstinence type stuff. STDs exist and that you will get them. And please, for the love of God, wear a condom if you are going to fuck somebody. And that's pretty much the whole thing.
Pretty high quality.
You guys didn't even have
sex
that?
ed. No, we had, STDs are gnarly and gross, and if you have sex, you're gonna get them, but not like you're gonna get them, which like the education should be. You're gonna get them.
Yeah. What you remember yours at all, Parker?
Yeah, I remember the anatomy part. Like they showed us pictures, like all the systems down there, the vas deferens.
The fallopian tubes.
You guys didn't get any pictures?
Oh, we got diagrams.
I didn't get any diagrams. It was all just like put this condom on.
They even talked to you about condoms.
Yeah.
You had some high level shit.
We did the whole because our woman that taught our class, so she was sitting there telling us all not to like have premarital sex and stuff. Meanwhile, she was like this 24-year-old woman who was pregnant and didn't know who the dad was. It was like, how are you gonna tell us?
Hilarious.
You're gonna tell us?
Hilarious.
So no one took anything serious the whole time. So she no one would listen to the thing. So she goes like, all right, fine. This is how I don't think she was doing the curriculum. She just started showing condoms to people and like putting them on bananas. Like, it was like, I could do it.
Yeah, we didn't have any of that. I don't remember like really talking about protection. I remember like abstinence. And in high school, we watched the video of somebody giving birth.
We did that too.
Well, then like she tried to reverse it at one point, like rewind it and go back, and the baby went back in.
Oh my God, that's horrifying. That's some David Lynch shit.
I had some very like scarring sex education in public school.
Did it look like the little heart symbol in the bottom left there?
Have you seen birth happen? Have you ever seen a vagina before?
Yeah, I have multiple times. And I've helped give birth.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Ryan Grimes
Two
has
whole times.
sex, everybody.
What?
He fucks.
Listen, I'm not gonna brag or anything, but I've fucked once or twice.
Wow.
It's a good time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Clearly, sex education did not permeate within you because that tape on your arm's getting
I was about to say,
mad, not sticky anymore.
Ryan Grimes' tape is barely usable at this
Doesn't
point.
hold anything up.
Barely
Doesn't
usable.
hold shit up.
Oh.
Used to be Gorilla Tape, now it's like Scotch.
Just covered in lint.
What's it, lint? You got an STD?
Oh.
Is the lint the STD?
I don't know, man.
I don't have one. I'm just saying.
You hear that, everybody? Ryan Grimes fucks and he does not have an STD. Wow.
Over there.
How much money do you have in your bank account, too, while you're just bragging about everything?
3,500.
He actually did it. What a dickhead.
It's not even much.
What a dickhead.
I actually don't have that much. I just lied.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's backtracking. He's
It's
not
like
lying.
$3,000 though.
Jeez.
Ladies.
Oh shit. But no, we never went over anything about masturbation. Apparently, only like according to this article, only 6% of the nation like education class go over masturbation.
All right, that's a girls' class. You don't need to teach guys how to masturbate.
Yeah, we had already figured
I was
it
an
out.
expert by the time I was 15. I could teach a class in it myself.
The big thing in this article is it keeps talking about how like trans kids were affected by this because they don't associate with like their certain gender. But I didn't understand this part because regardless if you're talking about like vaginal masturbation or like penile masturbation, like they have one of those two things. Isn't it the same thing? Like I'm not seeing how they're left out of it.
I feel like the leaving out comes from the discussion in which our sex education is very gendered. It's very much like, this is what boys have and this is what girls have. Like, that's bare minimum sex. Like, here are the diagrams. And that's the dialogue that leaves out trans people, and that like, well, I don't feel like I'm a girl, yet I have all of the stuff that like you're telling me girls are supposed to have, or vice versa. Like, I feel like I am a woman, however, I don't have the genitalia that this person is telling me should be assigned to that role. That's where the leaving out comes from. And it's the lack of discussion about how trans people exist, and it is an option and it's an identity, and there's no education about how people can like experiment or find themselves in that. It's just like boy versus girl. Like, there's no gender fluidity talked about. There's
the fluid stuff. I don't understand the fluid stuff at all. I don't get down with that. Like, I understand the transgender in general. Like, when you're a guy who feels like you're in a woman's body and you go to transition to a girl. The fluid stuff where it's like, so you're sitting there going like, I don't know what I am day to day.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Why?
That just seems like someone who just doesn't know what the fuck's going on in general. And like,
but why does it matter if they don't know what's going on? Why do they have to know? Why can't they just say, I'm not quite sure. Sometimes I feel like this and sometimes I feel like that. Like, why can't it be
like in my mind, that's just
spectrum?
Your
No, because gender and sexuality are very different things.
They're divorced.
Okay. Well, explain that.
Okay, the best way that I ever heard it put was sexuality is who you go to bed with, gender is who you go to bed as.
Okay.
So they're two different.
Sexuality is who you want to fuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Gender is what you feel as your own identity.
I'm catching it.
And
I don't like the idea of like every single day I gotta ask you like what you decided to
you
wake
don't
up
have
as
to
today.
ask anybody. That's why terms like they and them exist, so that you don't have to ask.
Why are we pluralizing people?
Actually, in the original origins of the terms they and them, it was used as singular. It was used to refer to like a singular person.
what was the plural?
What was what we use as pluralization then?
But they has been used like for all of English to describe a single person. Too,
Yeah, but that's
another
used as like
gender.
even when you're using it as a single person, you're using it to be like a group of people that could do the same thing. Like, oh hey, like if you do that, they're gonna have a bad day.
Yeah.
But that you're not using that as like that specific person. You're using it as anyone that does that. If they do that thing, it's going to be a bad
Not
day for them.
necessarily.
It's an ungendered pronoun. That's why you use that.
You can use it for one person. It's super grammatically correct to use they as a singular. Like, oh, what did they say? Like, oh, did you talk to like this person about it? What did they say to you?
What did they say? Yeah.
They're coming over.
Okay, that one. I get that one.
And also, is your feeling a little discomfort in a new usage of a word really worth, not validating somebody's identity? Don't you think you could just learn to be more comfortable with the word through time? No, don't get me wrong.
I typically do. Like, with anybody that I'm talking to at those points. The only problem with me comes when, like, someone's being disrespectful towards me. I don't want to... If they're not showing me some sort of respect, I feel like I'm not going to... I've talked to Tyler Dark about this in the past. Like, I'm not going to attack somebody on their pronouns or anything like that. I'm just going to attack them for being a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, just say they when you do it with a gender fluid person.
That one's going to take some getting used to.
I don't think I've, like, met many trans people. I think I've met
few.
Like, 2 or 3 in my entire life.
You've probably met more
That's
who just
what I was
weren't
thinking.
outing themselves as being trans to you.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was one thing about this article that they were talking about in there, where because you don't... Like, I agree that in the actual classes that it should be taught. Like, you should go over, like, what trans is and all this jazz. But a lot of kids are, because it's not taught, they say that they are... people don't understand as much, so they're less likely to come out as it, and other kids in the class are less likely to actually be comfortable with it. You know what I mean?
I think one of the biggest...
I agree with that.
The biggest reasons there needs to be more education about what it means to be transgender and what the difference between gender and sexuality is to give particularly like young teenagers, preteens, the freedom to experiment with what feels right for them as an identity. So you don't have to pin down and say like, I'm this, I'm that. Because that can be like a little bit difficult to do and to figure out, especially if there's pressure, especially if you don't even know what all the options are. So that's why, not wanting to keep up with somebody like, oh, well, you identified as he yesterday and you're they today and you're going back. Like, it's fine for somebody to go back and forth while they figure their shit out. We should give people the freedom to like feel what sits right with them and what they feel comfortable as having as an identity. Just because it's a little hard to keep track of doesn't mean we shouldn't be supporting that.
But then you have places like Alabama where like there's no sex education basically, and it's like,
well, actually, in Alabama,
I think
yeah.
I agree that like I'd probably be more down with that in like high school. You know what I mean? Whereas like I think the original point of sex education is like, don't get pregnant when you're 14. You know what I mean?
That's the whole point of it,
Which
really.
abstinence is a terrible way to try to get people not to do that.
Yeah, because everyone's horny as fuck and they're gonna fuck.
I just know if you add like trans, like educating about trans people, like in the South, they're just gonna go.
Man.
Not gonna teach any of it.
Well,
you know
it's
what I mean?
illegal.
Whereas,
It's illegal to in Alabama, according to this article, to actually like talk about homosexuality in those classes and speak of
Are you
it in like an
serious?
acceptable.
Yeah.
You cannot.
That's fun.
You're not even allowed to speak of it in like an acceptable way. You could like lose your job.
Yeah, that's
so ridiculous.
It would be, I mean, it's the same with almost anything. You introduce a new idea. You can't wholeheartedly say, okay, we're blanket changing this entire curriculum.
Yeah.
It's taking baby steps in the areas where people want to. It's like the 6% of people who are already talking about masturbation education. Like, it's like a chain reaction. It's not,
It doesn't seem like it's about the masturbation. It's more about just using it as a stepping stone to get the trans stuff more accepted.
I mean, I think it's also about masturbation. It's also about, it's important for people to understand their bodies. Like, how can you tell a partner what you want from them in an experience if you don't even know what you want for your own body? Like,
yeah, I know, but how is the teacher going to tell you techniques that you know are for your, like, you understanding what's for your own body is you taking the time down there on a nice weekend,
I think it's
summer
more...
day, having a good glass of wine or something.
Were you in my apartment today?
I was.
No, I think it's more normalizing it so that people don't feel the shame attached with masturbation. So that talking about, like, this is a viable option for you.
You should feel a tiny bit of shame.
Why?
Just a little bit.
I don't think so.
Do you feel post-masturbation shame, Parker?
Every goddamn day of my life, bro.
That is...
No.
That's a horrible way to live.
I've never felt bad about it once.
Huh?
I never felt bad about it once.
You shouldn't.
Thank you, Megan.
I don't mean you specific. You probably should.
I don't know. I don't think, like... I don't know. I think it's still kind of a vice, It's like gambling, right? You do it every once in a while, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't pretend that, like, that it's something that can be just done in excess,
Right.
I mean, anything in excess would be, like, if you're missing commitments because you just can't stop masturbating, like, that's a whole nother...
Were you in my apartment today?
That's a whole nother field, but it should be... sexuality is a normal and human part about life. It shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be shame. There shouldn't be a coating of shame over it.
But, like, porn addiction is a real, like, problem.
Oh, yeah. There's a big problem with that where people...
That no one told me about when I was younger.
Yeah.
They just said, don't watch it. They weren't like...
No, you definitely get addicted to it.
You can get addicted to it. Which, that needs to be talked about.
There's a lot of men with, like, erectile problems now because of... They got so used to porn. I think I'm going through that personally, actually. I stopped watching porn because of this, and I think that I'm having I've gotten so used to porn, like, in general, that when it's not on, I have a harder time getting, like, into that mode.
It's like rewired your brain.
You know what I mean? And I'm seeing how it goes. So far, it's been tough. But yeah, I think that might be a thing. I've also been in a coma, so my shit's just...
I think a lot of guys, though, coma or not, do have, like, get into, like, a hole at some point. You know what I mean? Like, most people, like, come out of it, but...
I think it's just because you watch, like...
out of it.
Oh! Bam. There it is. Cum joke.
That's what I'm here for.
We're heating up.
Here we go.
But no, fucking... Because you just keep watching, like, dirtier and dirtier shit.
Yeah.
And it's like... Everything else just becomes boring. Like missionary.
You get desensitized.
Yeah, gross.
I think also, that's a valid issue, but there's a whole other issue about, like, erectile dysfunction and, like, people not there. I don't even know what to call it for women, but there needs to be more discussion around that as something that happens. Because I've known a lot of guys who have had, like, issues, and they are like, I feel like I'm in my 20s and I feel like an old man right now, and it's like, no, everybody just has. Stuff happens, and sometimes stuff doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, a lot of it is porn, though.
Yeah.
Porn definitely fucks up your ability.
I've read a few articles about it, and apparently, like, once you do quit it, there's this lulling phase for, like, 2 months. A lot of these guys are going through, to where it's, like, 2 months of just, like, you're not even, like, sexually attracted to anything. Like, you just go fucking numb for, like, 2 months.
I wouldn't. My whole identity would crumble around me.
What? Really? Jesus. But yeah, then after the 2 months, everything just And it's harder for, I think it's like harder for younger people. There's a bunch of like 50-something-year-old men were doing it, and like they'd have be numb for like a week. And then they'd be like, I used to look at Sears magazines. Everything gets me off. And then all of a sudden, they're like, bam, right back in it.
That is definitely, like, our younger generations have access to, like, I mean, like, virtual reality porn. That's fucking crazy.
That's going to end the world.
Bananas.
That's going to end the world.
Nobody's going to know how to handle that VR porn.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's already, it's just going to get more and more. It's where you have, like, the virtual reality goggles. So you're watching porn, and it makes it look like there's actually somebody, like, there with you. And then you can add in, like, electronic toys and machines and stuff with it. So you're actually, like, simulating.
Yeah.
This is here. Like, it's happening.
I got one down here, man. It's fucking great.
Let's try it out.
And it's just going to get more and more advanced. Where, like, sexuality is going to be so stimulated.
Japan's birth rate is low enough.
Oh goddamn, Parker.
As it is, we don't need sex robots.
No, people in Japan aren't even like fucking each other anymore. They're
too career driven.
They're paying each other to cuddle. I saw this one video. Ah, nice. Megan, I will take an hourly rate of $50 to cuddle. Parker, same goes for you. I'm not biased.
Oh, I love cuddling.
Cool, awesome. $100 after the show. Be good.
Wait.
Oh, no one wants to do it?
I'm paying you to cuddle?
No.
You didn't cut my balls or anything?
I mean, that's an extra $25.
That's only 25?
Yeah.
Really don't like cuddling.
It's $75, man. What the hell? It's an hour. It's a day's work right there.
Hold on. So I still don't get this. So you're in the VR goggles. Can you like walk around and shit?
Mm-mm.
You're not, I mean, you can, but you're not supposed to. You're supposed to, like, lay there and...
So it's just like, what's the difference between that and, like, regular porn?
It's more intense.
So what it is...
Like, you're, like, in it. Like, it's...
You'll, like, have a VR... I'm assuming it's Japan, so it's like an anime woman, like, on top of you. And then, like, you'll have, like, a machine with, I assume, a pocket pussy on it. And that's going up and down. And they program it to coincide with the video because they're all geniuses, and then you have like a fake set of breasts. That's not hard to do.
There's so much tech happening with like the sex industry. Like there's also this thing that I saw where if you're in a long distance relationship, it's like matching sex toys so that it's like a pocket pussy and like a dildo, but you can like time them.
They're like linked together.
Yeah, so it's like they're timed to do the same thing. Like you can put on the same setting so that it feels like everything is happening at the same time as it is happening for the other person.
Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about just like a molding, like an actual molding of.
No, they're two separate pieces, and one is like wherever person A is, and the other one's wherever person B is, and then you can like simulate having sex with your long distance partner.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, the tech industry within the sex industry is pretty bananas.
Man.
I know.
They're coming out with those like realistic sex dolls too.
Yeah.
That creep me the fuck
They're not even realistic.
That's what I'm saying.
Have you seen, they look like dolls.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they're going to keep getting more and more.
They're getting more and more.
They will. It's going to be like that Fry Futurama with Wendy Wu.
Yeah.
Remember that? Mm-mm. Oh, Parker, you want to take this one?
Oh, so they have really realistic sex robots, so he just doesn't do anything else but stay in his room and have sex with his sex robot.
Yeah, there's no need to improve as a man because you're just getting laid whenever you want.
Huh. Is that the end goal for...
I mean, it's a big driving factor where I think a lot of people improve themselves. Is to get laid. You know what I mean? Like, you see a bunch of okay, so why are a bunch of the dudes who are like the star quarterback that didn't end up going to like college or anything, why are they on a massive scale such pieces of shit afterwards? They got all their pussy out of the way. They're good.
Oh my god.
And then they can get with those girls who also kind of fucked up in high school, but they're still getting laid, so they go, oh fuck it, I did it. And now they're not improving themselves afterwards, and they're not getting better careers. Meanwhile, the little nerd got shoved into the locker by that guy, didn't get laid until after college, and he had $100,000 a year job. He's working his way up, man. I think there's some validity to that.
I feel like you're just, at the end of the day, though, you're still like it doesn't feel like there's really a point there because everybody's still getting laid.
No, not everybody.
I feel like it's
everybody's
a lot
still
of people
getting
not
laid.
getting laid.
I feel like it's a really like overplayed stand-up bit. It's like the men do everything for sex.
Well, I mean, it's
not a trope. It's like saying
it's not my.
You know what the difference
reason.
between men and women is? Like it's like, or my kids did something today.
Yeah,
it's like I don't give a fuck.
That's just one aspect, though. I'm not saying that's the only reason you improve. I'm saying it's a pretty decently big aspect. Laid? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
I mean, I think so. One time, okay, so check this out. I used to not clean my room ever. Brought a girl home one night. She looked at my dirty room. She said, I'm not fucking this guy. Now I clean my room.
All right, that actually happened to me too. One time. My room was like really, really messy and my friends were shaming me hardcore about it. And then we were all hanging out and there was this like new guy that I was meeting for the first time. And he said, my friend was like, you want to tell him about how like filthy your room is? I was like, it's not that bad. And he's like, you've been sleeping on your couch because your bed is covered in your clothes. I could not believe he said this in front of this guy. And then my friend like tried to come in and be like, oh, you don't have to be ashamed. And the guy that I was trying to get with was like, shame can be a good thing sometimes. Immediately clean my room.
Don't do the like my room's always like a little messy, but I'm always like, hey, let me get everything.
Little?
Like,
I've seen your room, Barker. Don't lie to me.
I cleaned it too.
Only because he's getting laid.
And he knows that I saw his room, so like you said, even not even the laid thing, the shame there made him improve. Even though I'm clearly not going to lay Parker.
All right, that's true. I do clean my room when I'm like having like a girl over.
Right.
It's true.
Because it's shameful.
But I always do the like, hey, let me get everything ready for you. And then I like bring a trash bag in, put everything in real quick, shove all my clothes in my closet,
I've had
the blanket out ready, nice. Spray a little Febreze.
Yeah. I know the tactics, sir.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And then like just don't look in my closet for the love of God. Like do not open that. Like full blown avalanche.
Do not don't look on my bed either. There's a monster down there. I swear to God, it's gonna get you.
Oh.
No, man, shame's a good thing sometimes, and people act like it's not. People act like there shouldn't be any shame, like with anything. I think it, obviously not with the thing that we were talking about earlier, like someone with their sexual identity and stuff. I don't think you should shame somebody for that. But there's multiple things.
I think shame should be based in if you let yourself down, you should feel a little bit ashamed that you didn't, do what you deserved to be your best move in that moment. Just like, I mean, when I let my room get super messy, I'm letting myself down because I'm like not providing myself a clean space to like be creative and like I do better in a clean environment. Like the shame there is like I'm letting myself down right now. I think that's a healthy aspect for shame to come to a degree. Like some people are too hard on themselves. Like it's definitely a fine line. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the only really like shame should only be for wanting to improve yourself for yourself. You should never be shamed externally into doing something different.
I don't know. There's some people that there's also people who don't feel the shame internally, even though they're pieces of shit and do like really fucked up things, like steal from people, and they don't feel that sort of shame until outside forces make them feel bad for being such a piece of shit and stealing from their friends, and then that's the only reason that they felt that shame and stopped doing that and changed the person.
I guess
so I can see what you're talking about.
But that's based off of objectively bad behavior. Like that's different than I'm talking about like
I'm not talking about a gay kid should feel the shame because I'm not saying shame a gay kid or anything like that, but like you're talking about objectively bad behavior. There's some people who don't think that the behavior is bad until they get shamed. I'm just talking about shaming as an overall concept. Like it's not always a negative.
Okay.
All right, can we talk about this fucking thing now?
I want to know what
the fuck is that?
I guess it is one hand.
This one in the bottom right's the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'm completely convinced it's one hand because...
It is, because it's the same thumb, you're right.
Exactly.
But what are we...
Oh, that's right, it is the same thumb.
What are we doing here?
I'm assuming it's a patting motion onto what would be the clit.
Unless it's not this, it's this. Is it possible that it's this?
If it's that, that's the worst
I'm still
artwork.
confused if it's that.
No, because that one would be... Top right is the one you're speaking of.
No, that's different.
Oh, sorry, top left, I mean.
Top left. Why are these...
You don't gotta have your hand down like that, just...
this
side
one...
to side, I mean.
But if it was side to side, it would be laid out differently. I feel like. That one is like coming down.
And why are these two fingers together?
That's what I'm asking. Is this intentional, or is it's just like a relaxed hand?
Well, you gotta think there's probably some overall bias from the person, how they do it. They're writing it in there.
It feels like this one person has a really specific routine for what they do, and like, oh, well, this is normal, and this is the first time that somebody's had the conversation of like, what if I told you that's not universal?
Well, there you go. Okay, so how many techniques are we going to show to these kids with the masturbation styles? And so, like,
God, a million if you wanted to cover like full ground.
Just play with it a little bit, figure it out.
You could make a joke about. I was just thinking about how these look like sign language things.
Oh,
you could make a joke about like, I was fingering this girl who's deaf. She thought I was yelling at her or something like that. It's a horrible joke now, but you see, you could do that.
She thought I was yelling at her. No, okay.
I don't know. We should look up what these mean in sign language.
They don't mean anything.
That
one literally has a dildo in the hand, like, or a bullet, whatever they call it.
Thank you.
That's funny. Let's see. What else was about this article? Oh, okay. This was something that they were saying. They're saying that when you're not teaching about the homosexuality and like trans stuff, they say that, and this part didn't really 100% because I think it's for a different reason, but they say that like gay kids are more likely to have unprotected sex than straight kids, and it leads to them having more STDs than those. I just think they say it's because they don't get taught about condoms. I think it's just because they know they can't get the other one pregnant.
Well,
probably a combination of the two.
That's the same reason. So they think that the only reason somebody would use a condom would be to prevent pregnancy. They're not fully thinking about STDs as a reason.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Shit. I remember, you guys got any like funny stories from... I got stabbed in my healthcare class.
What the fuck?
Yeah, with a pencil. This kid Kwame got me good. So he was getting bullied, right? By this kid that sat next to me. His name was Ricky. He was a real piece of shit. But Ricky looked a lot like me, which sucked. But he would always bully Kwame, and then I probably shouldn't use his real name. He would always bully this kid.
Damage is done.
Already done. Whatever. Sorry, Kwame. He would always bully this kid, and I wouldn't really get involved in it. But one time, I was falling asleep in class, and my arm fell, and it hit Kwame. And I guess this is... God damn it, did it again. And I guess this was the day that, like, he had enough. So he just turned around with his pencil and just like, ah! He got me both sides of the knee. And then I woke up. It didn't really hurt, but I woke up. I was like, hey, what the fuck, dude?
Bleeding?
Like, I wasn't at the time. I was like, what? You just stabbed me? Like, what are you doing? He goes, yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. So I just kind of lost it. I was like, all right, dude, calm down. Fuck. And then I go back to sleep and I feel like some drips going down my leg. And then a bunch of blood.
Oh, wow.
So I had to raise my hand. I was like, hello, yeah, Miss Valentine. Can I go to the nurse? She was like, why you go to the nurse? I was like, oh, Kwame stabbed me. And then everyone immediately, like, this is my second day in this new school. I didn't even know anybody. And when that second day, like second week, I think. And everyone just turns around like, what? And they say, what did you say? I go, Kwame stabbed me. Like I said, I need to go to the nurse. And then there's this big ordeal afterwards. But after that, we didn't really do too much in that class. It was like a don't stab anybody, don't hurt anybody kind of class after that. It got real weird. Because that was like a terrible teacher.
Huh.
No one did anything. But nothing exciting in your guys' classes?
I mean, how am I supposed to top getting stabbed? No, the tape was the best that I really had. And
I got nothing, buddy.
everybody would just be like, we're gonna learn about sex today.
Vaginas and whatnot. What else have we got here? Well, I guess we're on the trans stuff. We'll just go with this. Have you guys seen the masculinity trans commercial? Mm-hmm. You saw that one. Did you see that one too? You didn't? Oh, we'll pull that one up after this.
It's toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
Gillette. Yeah, I've seen that one. It didn't have any trans people in it though.
No, and that one was like actively targeting like
yeah, it's like we can do better.
Right, and then people got really heated about that one. This one, people are getting heated about this one. I'm just gonna let it play and see how it is. But this is about a trans kid learning how to shave, and surprisingly, people are pissed.
Kind of man I wanted to become, and I'm still trying.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Slacking. Okay, ready.
To figure out what kind of man that I want to become. I always knew I was different, I didn't know that there was a term for the type of person that I was. I went into my transition just wanting to be happy. I'm glad I'm at the point where I'm able to shave. South, south, north, north, east, west, never in a hurry. Right.
One. Now don't be scared. Don't be scared. Shaving is about being confident. Oh, you're doing fine. You are doing fine.
I'm at the point in my manhood where I'm actually happy. It's not just myself transitioning, it's everybody around me transitioning.
That's the whole thing. It's like a minute.
It's so cute.
It's cute. I don't understand. Because did your dad teach you how to shave?
Yeah.
Oh, I might just not have a good dad.
I mean, I
never
learned
got
how to
taught.
shave my legs for the first time. It was a big moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can see how it's a big moment for like a trans guy coming into that because they haven't had facial hair before. The reaction to this should always. I don't like the people on both sides who go, "Oh, this is disgusting," like trans people gross, or the other people on the other side who are just like, "Oh, this is utterly amazing." Like I don't like that side either. I think it should just be like, "Okay, cool. You're transitioning to this. Cool."
I mean,
That's the most that I think should be said about it. It's like you do you, man.
there still needs to be support because it's something that some people don't always get a bunch of support for. I mean, I think the goal is for it to just be people can live their lives how they most feel like themselves without any like big deal one way or the other. But we still need a little bit more of that spectrum of like support and overwhelming acceptance, like active support and acceptance for a community because they've gotten so much of the other spectrum of like this is not.
Oh, okay. I see. So you're saying because you have the
so
one
tipped
side who's
the other
like
way.
so you're saying the one side that's like, oh man, this is fucking disgusting. So you need that over compensation of the over compensatory love on the other side.
I mean, I don't love the word overcompensation, but there needs to be added support in that community.
I mean, but yeah, I don't see why people are actually mad at the actual commercial. But this is
Yeah, I see nothing wrong.
Yeah, well, I know why this guy's just mad at everything. It
Yeah,
seems
I would
like.
I get
if
how
my
people were pissed
Botox
at the
looked that
first
bad.
one though.
The first one
was a little like
was annoying.
it was a little like I had a whole discussion with my roommate about it, but it's hard to explain why.
Can we watch it again?
Yeah.
Like,
You want to
can I
do
get
this
a
one or the
refresher?
first one?
Do the toxic masculinity.
Pull that up. Oh god. Toxic masculinity.
TikTok compilation.
There's a TikTok?
No.
TikTok company.
Yeah, here's the first one.
Who's the daddy? What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault.
So you may have a conversation about this ad in your workplace or among your friends today. It's certainly getting a lot of attention online. It's
Original ad. Oh, bam. Is it the same thing?
I think the top one is the.
No,
right
that's the
one.
Guardian. That's another new one. Just look up Gillette ad.
So, have you seen this
Motherfucker.
Gillette commercial?
Hard to just.
Why is everyone to talk
Just scroll
about it?
down.
I mean, that's what we're doing. It's fair.
Yeah,
It's literally what
touche.
we're doing.
Touche to us.
This is crazy.
See if it's on the Gillette
Yeah.
YouTube page.
Go down. It was right there.
Where?
The
Go
Gillette
down.
down.
There.
Yeah.
Click on that.
Did they take it down?
Shaving has been
They're literally just teaching people how to.
Why does Gillette have this many?
Why do they have so much content
on their YouTube?
What the fuck? It's all the same thing. Just like this is how you
learn how to shave with this hot guy today.
What is this? Is this like a typical Gillette ad?
I don't know.
The subliminal messaging in this is crazy.
Why is this kid orgasming out of his deodorant?
Oh my god!
Right? What the fuck?
Shaving is.
Why are people not upset about that?
Okay, so I can't find this fucking thing.
Hold on, do one more. Gillette ad, like Gillette toxic masculinity. I think it was coming up.
We have to be
ad original. Just click on that one.
Yeah, original. Ba-bam.
I feel like the first one will play it. It's like on The Guardian, but it's
bullying. The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity. Is this the best a man can get? Is it?
It's likely happening here in bullying as well. A problem.
We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says he's crossing the line.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Some already are. In ways big.
Yo, men, we're everywhere.
And small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay?
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
So, couple things. First of all, they had like videos of girls in bikinis. Like, that's a bad thing. Like, guys are the only reason that women would ever like dress that way. Two, they had the girl. Did you remember the woman who's the newscaster? She's from the Young Turks, which denies the Armenian genocide. They're horrible pieces of shit. And also, I don't like one of the worst parts about that ad is like when they have the boys like playing with each other, because there's been all these studies that like boys and young men don't fit into like especially when it comes to education, like they don't fit into the rigid conformed like style. Like they fit in way less than like young girls do to stuff like in like a classroom, and that part of like them being healthy and having like good mental health is like playing around and having freedom and like doing activities like
rough and tumble playing,
playing and stuff like that. And I just like it's hard to put into words what's bad about it, but it's almost like a cartoon of like men. You know what I mean? Like
I thought
the sitcom where the guy's like about to pinch the girl's ass. It's like we aren't in the 50s anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, are you gonna bring up every single thing that like dudes ever used to do? Like that's not on any sitcom. And I don't know, dude. Like,
and people aren't defending that anymore. I mean, I don't know how
exactly
you feel about it, but I don't know any men our age that are like defending some guy coming up and groping a chick.
Like, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but it's like kind of offensive. Like, I'm not like triggered or anything, but it like, I mean, imagine if they had a ad like for women's razors, and they had the women like crying, and they had the women, you know, they had the women like you know, like doing the most stereotypical stuff you could assign to being a woman, it wouldn't fly at all. But it's perfect. Hey, you want to take pot shots at men? Let's go ahead.
Because there's still this, I mean, the whole boys will be boys thing does lead to, like, oh, he pulled your pigtails in kindergarten. That leads to, like, people believing that rudeness and meanness is like, oh, he likes me, and can lead to, like, domestic violence being normalized. Like, it seems like a big stretch, but it's not.
That's a stretch, going that pulling pigtails in childhood leads to domestic violence. I need to see a study on that. That's like...
It's the normalization of, you know, it's tough to say violence towards women when we're talking about that kind of, like, on the playground shit, but it, like, over time is ingrained as normal.
But it was two boys, and
that's a different example.
And one of the issues is, like, that you have boys that you want to come. That's why boys do so terrible in, like, education right now, is because they like, part of their growing up is exploring, like social like playing and roughhousing and stuff.
I mean, the roughhousing is one thing, but the actual, like, fighting and stuff was different. I feel like they weren't just showing that, like, playful roughhousing. I think they were showing, like, kids actually getting picked on and, like, fought and being, like, thrown off as, like, oh, boys will be boys. I think that's what they were addressing, is that, like, there is a normalization of violence within masculinity, and that's part of the problem. And also, to make a video about women in the same light, there's no stereotypical female behavior that could be made into a caricature that is actively...
Sorry, I didn't let you finish. Go ahead.
That is actively harming the entire male demographic. Whereas that violence, that roughhousing, leads to them being violent towards women. Like, it's not the same.
It leads them to be, like, even if you said that, it leads to them being violent against men, too.
Well, yeah, I mean,
men are the victims of violence way more than women, so making that a woman's issue seems disingenuous.
But women are victims of domestic violence more so than men are.
That's not true. There are studies that say...
I've seen that.
Yeah, there's studies that say that men are the victims in equal proportion to women. Yeah. Women just get hurt more when it happens. So
just because the woman's not as strong when it happens, and also like the man's not calling the cops because he's not physically hurt. Well, he'll call the cops that way just to bring it out there. And
the cops arrest the dude. It's in police. You get trained in. You can look. It's all. You can look all of this up. It is common police procedure in basically every jurisdiction in America, that if a domestic violence call happens, even if the dude calls, you always arrest the man. It's part of some. Like, it has some person's name and, like, the something process where the first step is always getting the man out of the house, even if he called the domestic violence complaint. Which is so fucked up.
But that still comes down to this inherent violence that is accepted within masculinity. So you can say, okay, well, men are more victims of violence. Okay, that's part of the problem, that, like, men aren't taught that it's fine to be violent.
But like, that's part of the thing I don't like, is, like, there is, like, healthy violence, right? Like, I don't go around beating people up, but I like doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's violent. Right. I got into fights when I was a kid, when I was, like, in elementary school, and it, like, teaches you part of, like, expressing yourself in a healthy way. Like, it's a very male thing, and I don't agree with this, like, we have to, like, completely eliminate violence. Like, I think there can be some space made for men to express that side of themselves, like, healthily, instead of just saying that it's completely it's always toxic and always...
The healthy outlet would be doing something like jiu-jitsu, but to say, like, I got in fights as a kid and it taught me how to express myself, no, it did not. Taught you how to violently express yourself? No, that
it taught me if you punch someone bigger than you, it taught me not to punch people and stuff.
Why, you get your ass whipped or something by someone bigger than you that you punched?
Yeah.
Well,
that's part of growing up as a dude.
That just shows you that the bigger guy...
It also feels like common sense. Like, it doesn't feel like you needed to actually have that fight to have that understanding.
You'd be surprised if your first fight you start thinking you're a badass, and then
every dude that's never gotten into a fight thinks they can take anybody on in a fight.
That is true.
But I don't know.
We don't. I mean, The majority of men aren't over here.
Yeah.
The thing about toxic masculinity is that it does also negatively affect men. Like, it's part of the reason, like, toxic masculinity as a whole is this, a lot of it comes from men not properly being able to express themselves, which is not, you know, that it's their fault, but I mean, it comes down to men feeling like they can't, like, cry or be emotional. That's taught in society. Like, that's a societally ingrained concept, and it's part of toxic masculinity that men don't have that option of, like, emotional outlets. Like, it's easier to say, like, okay, I'm going to take jujitsu instead of, like, I would like to experiment with painting. Like,
I mean, you can go do that if you want. Most men aren't, like, sitting over here going, like, fucking... Okay, so we might have a joke and be like, you paid and you fag. Like, we'll fuck around each other like that, right? But then we don't literally, like, disrespect some person because they're over there. We're just, like, fucking with one another constantly. And I think that when you bring that into the female spectrum, they don't understand it as us fucking with them. And I understand your thing when it's like abuse and shit like that. There's only, well, I'm sure there's a few men that are just like, yeah, punch her in the face. But no men our age are sitting around here going like, anyone that abuses a woman or acts violent towards a woman, no one supports that. And that's like...
They look the other way, though.
No.
No. You're telling me that no men your age...
Okay, that's a very different than the vast majority. The vast majority,
those men that do that are weak men. And typically that they don't want to go and do anything about it is because they're afraid that guy that's being abusive to that girl can weed the shit out of him. So he doesn't mess with her.
I've been at parties where dudes have, like, creeped on girls and gotten their fucking asses kicked. Like,
yeah,
it's not normalized or accepted for the majority of men. And, like, saying that, saying that kids roughhousing, like, leads to domestic violence. I mean, that's like saying, like, boxing leads to domestic violence, or...
No, because it's structured and organized, but being able to, like, freely express a violent urge the way that you want to, just with friends and stuff, leads to not necessarily knowing how to channel that properly in adulthood.
I feel like it's the people who don't do that and don't get set in their place sometimes by, like, not more masculine men, but have that rough and tumble play when they're childs, begin to be these, like, more, I don't want to say weaker men, but men who can't really defend themselves or anything like that. And then when they can't control their anger because they've never done like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training or anything like that, and actually got that physical violence that they want to do out. So now it's just in them. They can't do anything in it. And then the only people they can do it against is a woman who has a smaller stature. And those are the guys who start abusing their women. Not in all cases. I know there's muscle hound beefheads that are beating the shit out of women. So, like, I don't know how routinely. It's probably a fair amount.
But it's kind of insulting, like, the message it's saying. Like, what am I supposed to go patrol the streets looking for dudes that are beating up women? It says we can do better. Like, what the fuck? I think, like, the vast majority of men don't do this.
And I think it's a lack of masculinity.
And, like the whole mansplaining thing where she goes, what she was trying to say, like, that's a fucking, like, meme at this point. You know what I mean?
Not. No, that's a real thing.
No, it's real, but I mean, like, it's not that blatant or obvious. Like, it's
yes,
just...
it is sometimes.
Here, go into like examples or anything. What your thoughts on that are?
I mean, it would happen to me in my classes.
Hold on,
what
I think you're trying to say. Sorry.
First of all, it's funny.
Okay, that was hilarious.
That's fucking funny.
But also, you guys have also, like, talked over me a little bit throughout these conversations here too, which is whatever.
I talk over everybody.
But we talk over everybody. Like, you
can watch.
We just talked over you now, but
you don't ask a woman her opinion on a woman's issue and then talk over her.
When we were on Skype,
that was a joke.
Do you remember?
I know that one was.
Do you remember when we were on Skype with the entire podcast because we had, like, the delay? We were just talking over each other the whole time.
That's awful.
Sorry.
But yes,
it's happened in classes before where I'll have, like, an idea that I want to say, and I'll have somebody be like, oh, to add, like, I think where she was going with this, and I've had to be like, no, actually, that's not where I was going with it. You just, like, assumed something from what I was saying, and it wasn't accurate. Like, I've had that happen.
You did the right thing there.
But how much?
I mean, yeah, but it doesn't mean that it still wasn't annoying to have to do it.
But how much of the responsibility, though? Like, why? Like, you say we talked over you, right? Like, people talk over me all the time too, or they used
Parker's
to.
Short as shit.
I'm short as shit. People,
no one respects them.
Exactly. So I have to talk really loud and really high pitched sometimes, so people pay attention to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, like, how much of that is, like, on men, though? You know what I mean? Like, why
It's about
like
being
why
self-aware.
can't women like adjust a little bit come meet in the middle?
You actually have adjusted very well. You get around all these other men while we're doing comedy, and you actually speak your mind, and somebody interrupts you, you actually say something. There's a lot of women who just sit back and don't say shit. And if they would say shit, I mean, a lot of men would just be like, "Oh, okay, we respect that. That's fine."
I think it's about self-awareness, like understanding that is something that women deal with. And it's like dumb, annoying shit when it comes to that, like being interrupted, being talked over, having somebody think that they like, oh, I know what you're saying. And it's like, you actually don't know what I'm saying right now. You just made it up out of your own context. Like things like that are like annoying, but being self-aware that that's like something that goes on. So it's not, nobody's perfect. And there are circumstances where like, yeah, people talk over each other. I understand that.
It does feel like the way that people are trying to get it changed, especially at like the higher levels of each movement or whatever it is to change like the men's behavior to acquiesce to what women want to say all the time instead of what we just said, and like also trying to get women to speak up more. I feel like,
well, the difference is when, and this isn't my experience, but there are some resources that are there to like empower women, that teach them how to, to speak up more in the workplace, to ask for how to ask for a raise, stuff like that. But when it's seen as that, like that's like seen as like empowering, whereas all the stuff for men is like shaming them. You know what I mean? It's always like a positive thing for women and like a negative thing for men. I just want to make the point real quick too that I do agree with you that there are definitely some, especially in the workplace, there are a lot of ways that women do get discriminated against, like conversationally. It's just like,
and I'd second that.
I disagree with like the cartoonish way that it's presented here. You know what I mean?
I mean, the problem with using a real issue like that for marketing is that it's inherently in capitalism. Like, it's disingenuous from the start. Like, you're using a trope to get people's attention. Like, we're a good company, use us. And it's like, yes, it's a great message. It's awesome. Keep doing, like, especially with the trans man. Like, that's an awesome commercial. Like, that, the word I'm looking for, appearance. It's not going to come to me. It's great, but at the end of the day, you're using that struggle and that experience to sell something. So it's already going to be a little...
It's like a Che Guevara t-shirt when the last thing he'd ever want is like a company making money in America off of t-shirts of him.
So at the end of the day, it's rooted in capitalism, which is fucked anyway.
Let's do it. Let's get into the capitalism debate. Because I've been browsing a lot of socialist memes.
We can do that next week. That's because we got some stuff planned out, and then I need to get more browsed up on that before I have because I'll sound like a jackass right now if we get into that debate. I haven't even read most of my things that I've read about it.
You should.
You know what I mean? I'm not fluent with my defense of capitalism at this point in my life. And I need to become more fluent with it to where I can talk about it whenever.
You should look up Zizek, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's like,
Zizek.
He just did a like debate with Jordan Peterson, and it's on YouTube. It's really good.
Really?
Oh wow.
You should watch that.
Nice, I'll have to watch that. Cool.
Zizek's crazy though.
He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and he talks like
the way that he talks, and he's always so
the
like
seeds of capital. He's always like rubbing his nose too. Like,
actually a pretty good impression.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I didn't know his name. I did. Would he just do coke all the time or something? Is that what his thing is? Like he's always just like this.
Normally, if people rub their nose and they talk kind of like that in that flustered manner, it means they're on some type of stimulant.
Yeah, I thought
like a lot of stimulants make you even like
drainage.
Meth like makes you like rub your nose and stuff a lot, or Adderall.
Well, this next guy that has his little opinion on the trans commercial, I think we can all agree that this guy sucks.
God, look at that Botox. Cannot get over it.
Is that what Botox? It is?
That is for sure Botox. That's why his face looks like. That's why he has zero wrinkles.
Shiny.
He's so shiny. He looks like a balloon.
He looks like a balloon.
He does look like a balloon. That's great.
Oh man, I thought it was like the years of hate just started like pulling back his skin.
Oh no, years of hate wrinkle the fuck out of you. People who mind their own business are people who age gracefully.
Yeah, you ever seen Emperor Palpatine?
Oh. First, okay, I'm gonna give you a fist bump on that one. I like that reference.
To Star Wars? It's not like an obscure reference.
Yeah, dude, people don't know what Star Wars is. I still like Star Wars. It's just a reference.
Yeah, me and my friends were watching this the other day. It's called Star Wars. Made on a $5 budget.
Fuck off, Parker. Oh shit. Okay, well here's the guy.
Wow. Kind of looks like something out of a Todd Browning movie, doesn't it? What's the website again?
Hold on.
Who's Todd Browning?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Don't look at me. I don't know.
Cool. I was waiting to Google this until everybody got here.
Is it just going to be him in a different costume?
Yeah, he's just plugging his own. Yeah. He's just plugging his own shit.
This is exactly what he wanted to happen right now.
Todd Browning. Oh, he played Hitler. What is that? Is that him playing Hitler there?
American film actor.
That's right, films. Todd Browning films.
Just click on the Wikipedia page.
We'll be typing films, that'll show up right here.
Okay.
Oh, so Dracula, free. Okay. That's a really, like, obscure way to call this kid a monster.
Wow. Is that what hold on. Go to his Wikipedia page. You might just say, like, known for playing monsters.
Wikipedia today's career span, a silent film.
Best known as the director of Dracula.
Freaks in silent film. Okay, shit. That's like a real low-key way to call this kid a monster.
Thing to say. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Okay, back to this piece
but
of
also,
shit.
This guy just showed his age. Those movies are from 1931. This guy
oh my god, they are old. This guy's old as fuck.
Yeah, well, silent movies. They don't come out with silent movies anymore, Ryan Grimes.
He's remembering his teenage years.
This guy told me shit he did. The Botox is completely the truth.
He's actually like 200 years old. It's just his head is just held back there. All that skin is held back with a paper clip behind him right now.
He just takes Super PAC money and turns it into everlasting life.
Look at his angry face.
All right, let's go.
Bam. For the Dollar Shave Club. But yeah, the new whiz-bang way, be the best a man can be, would seem to entail Daddykins spending quality shaving time with his daughter, who is pretending to be his son. I think I'm going to go out to my extended family, find out if there are some little gals out there who think they might be little guys, and instead of, I don't know, taking them to Canada's Wonderland, we'll do something really fun.
To Canada's Wonderland?
Like shaving.
He's Canadian, by the way. He is. Rebel Media is based in Canada. So
that's going to be some...
God, I never would have assumed that Canada could produce something that awful as this man.
Oh, they're just as bad as us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, this will no doubt clamp down on my toxic masculinity, aka masculinity. And should little Janie decide to transition into little Johnny in the near future, I will have bestowed upon them a new life skill. So how does it go again? Here's little, we'll call her Michaela.
What?
All right, there we go. Okay. And
is this him like trying to be funny?
Oh yeah, for sure.
This is like humor?
Oh yeah.
God, man, old people suck.
How did it go in the ad? Oh, yes. South, north, east, west.
What the fuck is that mask? I'm still not.
Never in a hurry.
Anyway. How does he not know how ridiculous he is?
Keep in mind also, snuck in a Saddam Hussein mask.
Oh, is that Saddam Hussein?
That is Saddam Hussein.
Oh my god.
Let's bring it back to where he brought it up.
Can you see how many like
little?
He just had it laying around and was like,
we'll call her Michaela.
That I could use this. Do you think this is all based on him getting to use that mask?
He is Saddam Hussein.
Wow.
We figured it out.
What's the perfect thing to resemble a trans kid? I know. Fucking the worst terrorist ever.
All right, there we go. Captured the trans community. Jolly good on you.
That's basically...
Hold on. How many views and stuff does it have?
Oh, dude, it's like This got released.
Holy
yesterday.
shit!
They got one.
How does it have that like ratio?
7K.
Yeah, but this is all like
The fuck?
people who watch this are all like people who are like 55 and older, completely don't give a fuck, and they think that like imitating it like the way that they did was hilarious.
God,
Like,
there's
oh, it
people out
was.
there. There are people out there like, oh, this guy tells it how it is. Like, this guy's a real.
Toxic masculinity? You mean masculinity?
When actually, like, he just played himself because it's like, yes, you caught on. You caught on to what we're bringing out right now.
Yeah, like that's literally like the
That's the problem.
That's the dude that you complain about.
I think it is hard though. Like, I totally get like the whole thing where you go like women have acquiesced so much to like being into men's space. I totally like get that, but like it just feels kind of, it's hard to explain in words, but it just feels kind of like as like a dude, there's certain stuff you like and think is good, and it feels that you like identify as like part of yourself that you don't think hurts anybody, and then when people tell you those things are bad, you almost like feel like offended.
You feel defensive. I mean, that's the whole process of becoming self-aware as a person. That happens to everybody. It's so uncomfortable to be like, well, I've been doing this my whole life, and you never wanted to go about it like as anything negative.
Yeah.
And then somebody calls you out on it, and your initial response is to feel hurt and offended, which leads to being defensive, and it leads to arguments, and it leads to like fighting against it. It's hard to say like, oh shit, this aspect of my being has actually been bad. I'm hurting people with this aspect of my being.
But I think there's also like a thing where you go, and this happens a lot, I think, when it comes to like, I don't call them left-wing ideologies, but ideologies, but there's like a part I always agree with, you know what I mean? Like, hey, it's bad that men like talk over women, you know, like, or do stuff in the workplace. But then it seems like there's always like an extra step that maybe I don't agree with.
Yeah,
it
turns into, oh man, it sucks
like
that
masculinity itself.
Yeah. Or it'll be like, okay, men shouldn't talk over women as much. And they won't go like, women should probably speak up more. It'll be like, men should shut the fuck up. And it'll go like even further than that. Like not everybody. But
I've read a lot on toxic masculinity. I do agree with some of it, but the problem always is they'll list all this stuff that's like bad with masculinity, and then at the end of like the article or whatever that I read, they always list like the good parts of masculinity. They go, because that's the next question, is like, masculinity has to have like, toxic masculinity is supposed to attack the bad parts of masculinity and like leave the good parts, right? But whenever they list like the good parts of masculinity, it's just stuff that like isn't like gendered at all. It's like being a good father. It's like, well, that's just being a good parent. Strength, you know? And it's like, well, that's part of being a good woman too, is being strong, you know? And it seems like they don't like leave much of what like, I don't know,
what would you
I think can be considered like masculine and stuff that like could be celebrated, you know?
That's actually a really good question, I think, for Megan. What parts of masculinity do you think are valuable to like overall society, or just in general valuable?
Which is a hard question too.
Yeah,
like,
don't feel like you need to. She's gonna say like, yeah, fucking nothing.
I'm
you bunch of nothing.
I mean, like it's hard because when you start actually going into it, you realize that none of the positives on either side are gendered. You realize that, like, if you ask me what the positives of femininity are, it would come down to qualities that any person could have. And I think that's the biggest point is, I don't know. I think that those roles are such a construct that you should just be able to pick whatever you want out of them and make it what it is for you. But it's hard to sit and say like, oh, a positive is, you know, being nice. It's like, well, everybody's nice. Like then I'm just looking at positives, like the question then comes down to, you know, what do I think is positive in masculinity? It's what do I think is positive out of the good relationships that I have with men? Like who the men in my life that I enjoy being around, that I look up to, that I respect, that I love, what about them do I like? And it's so personal, and it's so, the qualities are there across the board, not just for the men in my life, but the women in my life. Like, it's hard to sit there and say like, here are the gender roles of masculinity that I like.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a question.
I thought that was a really good answer too, by the way.
Here's a question.
I almost clapped.
Thank you.
But I didn't.
Not quite that good.
Redline the mics too much. We don't
like,
this is gonna be loud. Okay, so we're saying the toxic masculinity stuff, wouldn't that kind of go into the same thing, where there are females who have those negative traits that you would identify as toxic masculinity as well?
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, that comes down to the domestic violence thing.
Well, the whole
violence
argument too is that the bad things about women, why you don't have toxic femininity, is because that's like been built into the stereotypes forever. Like women being weak, you know, like that's already been a part of the discourse for such a long time, and that's kind of what feminism was, a reaction to the toxic parts of femininity.
Right. But
which were created based off of the toxic parts of masculinity. What we can agree on here is that there's a lot of toxicity in gender roles. Like what I'm saying
I think there's just a lot of toxicity in people being assholes.
But specifically related to the gender roles. I mean, all the stuff of like women being, you know, seen as weak or women being quiet, not speaking up, that's because they were taught by men to not do those things. They were taught by us. Well, I was going to say...
They were taught by men. What do you mean by that?
You know what the crazy thing is I was going to keep talking before you both talked over me, and I was going to tell you exactly.
We're fucking learning. Go ahead.
It comes down to the society. A patriarchal society ingrained those ideas into there, that, you know, men are allowed to be dominant and violent and aggressive and outward, whereas women are expected to be inward and docile and quiet. Like, I mean, that's when you look at old term gender roles, that's the dynamic.
Here's a question. Do you think it's that I agree with there's probably some taught that way. Do you think they're taught that way because men are more capable of being violent due to their actual natural, like, they're more strong? That was the dumbest way I could have said that. But they're stronger than women just naturally. So if a guy is getting another guy's face, they're more likely to kind of sit back and not attack that guy because he knows that there's a chance Parker could hit me right now. If I'm yelling, if I'm in an argument with you, we're getting heated.
See these tiny hands? They can do a lot of damage.
Right. Choke the shit out of me. But if we're getting an argument right now and we're getting heated at one another, I'm not really afraid of you taking me down or like beating the shit out of me. Or if you're in an argument with like another woman, more than likely it's not going to be like this cat fight that's going on. It's more than likely.
Oh, you shut your mouth! I've seen the best fights on World Star when the two women and the weaves come out and shit. Those are the best ones.
All right, well then fuck my point.
Violence is an inherent part of human nature.
Yeah, I agree. And
but there are also...
I would agree that men are more violent than women just in general.
But I think, to your point too, I don't completely agree with your categorization of men are... There was an aspect to the traditional gender roles of men are dominant and women are submissive, but there were other parts that still affect this society that, like men generally being seen as better parents. I mean, not men. Women being seen as better parents still is a part of old time gender roles. Like a mother has a special relationship with a child more than a man does. Still affects like the court systems today. There are like I think there's definitely a huge aspect of it that's societal, but like I think there might be some like genetic component to it as well.
I think that gets ignored 100% through like your lens.
And the whole point, I think a whole point too is like talking about general patterns is different than like putting people into a box, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you say men generally like beer and women generally prefer wine, right? That doesn't mean I can't drink wine. That doesn't mean a woman can't drink beer, but like saying if something isn't true for every single person in a group, like you can't say it, like throws away a lot of like valuable discussions that you can have about like patterns in general, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what I was saying. I was saying something.
Yeah, well, sounded good.
But like yeah, like the whole thing is like testosterone and estrogen. People like seem to think that they aren't mood altering like chemicals that men and women have different amounts of. If you pump me full of estrogen, I'm going to become a lot more sensitive. I'm going to be, some people would say, not more emotional, but more like a certain type of emotional. Whereas if you pump me full of testosterone, which, I mean, I already have so much of, but, no, I'm just kidding.
Sorry, I shouldn't have laughed that hard at that. My bad, man.
That was a joke.
I'm so sorry.
But, like, I'm going to become more aggressive and more competitive. And, like, I think it does a disservice to pretend like you can measure these amounts in different people and pretend that they don't affect behavior to a degree. Not limiting anybody from doing anything, but like saying that it does affect who you are, you know?
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. I believe it does. And the other thing, and this is going back to what we were talking about earlier with like the trans people, when they are actually doing their transitioning. Like there's some trans woman that met the other day, and I accidentally was just like, oh, how's transition going? Apparently that's a rude thing. Was telling me that's like a rude thing to do. Mm-hmm. But like I was like, okay, how's it going? But my thing with that is they're doing the estrogen replacement therapy, right? Like we don't know any of the science behind like how that's going to affect like the male body and like how much cancer that's going to cause in the future, because you're just completely changing their. Because even in examples like when women hit their menopause,
science on it. Huh? There's some science on it.
We're getting there as more people have the technology to advance and to transition in easier and more accessible ways. But also, anytime you fuck around with hormones, you increase that shit. Like, y'all want to talk about birth control for a second?
Oh yeah. Fuck that, dude.
We're gonna look back in like 50 years at birth control as we know it now and be like, oh, that shit was fucked up.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pull your uterus out probably just because you're gonna get some cancer in there. But some girls, but you were saying that they have studies on it right now. It's been like 10 years of this being.
One of the things is, not to get into this discussion again, but one of the things is that estrogen preserves bone density. Mm-hmm. So people with a male bone structure that then become women have really strong bones, which leads into problems when they compete in sports.
Oh my god.
Okay, first of all, that's something I'll never agree with you with.
I'm never going to agree with either of you on that.
Yeah, I don't think they should be allowed in there. And that's the point where I can't have my...
You can't pick and choose when somebody can be who they are and when they can't be who they are.
Yeah, you can choose it when they're going to make
love up. We don't have to do this because...
We don't have to do it.
Firm on that. Firm that a trans woman is a woman in all aspects of her life.
You know who I think you should ask about
Can't
this?
Agree. Any woman that got their ass kicked.
I think you should ask the women that are competing.
Yeah.
That's who you should ask. And from what I've seen, the women that are competing...
Pretty pissed.
Generally don't like it, especially when they break a bunch of weightlifting world records.
Did you see that one?
A bunch of, we don't have a large enough sample size.
I think almost all of the Australian lifting, I forget what they're called, power lifts, I think, were like clean and jerk and stuff. Yeah. One woman who hadn't been training weightlifting, who used to be a guy. She transitioned and then she started weightlifting for like a year or two, and she broke all the records compared to women who have been training their entire lives. Get shafted.
Why can't we do it like this? There's men, there's women, there's trans men, and there's trans women.
Because it others trans men and trans women, it makes them feel like they aren't actual men or aren't actual women.
But they're like, okay,
which is psychologically damaging.
That's the point. Okay, I didn't know you had that view on it, that they're actually. Because here's my thing. My view on it is just because I'm a nice guy. I'm going to be nice to the people who have this going on, but they're not real women. You're a guy who has transitioned into having your identity be that. Your sex isn't that. You even said it yourself. Your sex isn't. Sex and identity are two different things.
Stuff like this every week.
Sex and identity are two different things, right? That's what we agreed earlier, right?
Sex and gender.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Are you talking about their sex, or are you talking about their gender?
Your biological sex was a man. If you transition to a trans woman,
you are now a woman.
You're now a trans woman.
Your sex isn't a woman. No. Hold on. Your gender is a woman.
Your gender is a woman.
People would say your sex.
You're saying your sex is now a woman.
What the fuck does sex matter? Aside from the only time that sex matters is like for a medical purpose. Like, if you go to a doctor, you need to know
competition.
all of your medical history. Sports are not fucking medical history.
Competition, though.
I don't.
It's unfair. It's like someone doing steroids.
Wait, hold on. So why? So there are times when it's important to treat them as what they're originally.
No, not like that. There's times where it's important to know the full medical history.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is literally only for medical purposes.
Let's go deeper. What does that mean?
If there's an emergency and I need, like, somebody needs to have an emergency surgery happen.
The point that I think Ryan's trying to make, if I can mansplain for you for a little bit,
ahead, man.
is that the reason why you need a medical history is because that affects, like, your bone structure, your lung size, as you would say, how much drugs you can take, because it's different and you know what that also affects? Sports competitions.
But nobody else's medical history, like, my medical history is none of y'all's business unless you're trying to save my life in a hospital. Like, nobody should have to disclose their medical history.
You do. No, you have to do if you weightlift, because if you take steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, that's part of your medical history, that affects your performance. So when you go in to become an athlete, part of what you're saying is, I'm going to disclose my medical history. And they always make you disclose I had to do it in high school. When I played rugby, when I wrestled, you have to disclose your medical history, what medications you're taking, if you've had any surgeries. You have to disclose all of it because it affects competitions.
And my thing is this. I wanted to go...
let her talk.
Thanks, Parker.
At the end of the day, I'm just firm that trans women are women and trans men are men. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that in my brain. Like, that's just I'm not open to, like, learning differently on that one. Like, that's just.
But you don't believe it, though.
What do you mean?
Like, just based on what you just said in general, that, like, when we go into the medical facility, we need to then tell the.
I don't think your sex has anything to do with who you are gender-wise.
Right, exactly. No, I agree with you there. We've agreed.
Women can have dicks and men can have titties. Like, that's.
Trust me,
what if you did
right now?
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're at an age right now where you can. You don't have to have the genitalia
Let's walk through it for like 2 minutes real quick. All right. So my original stance is that you have men, women, trans women. And then we got to the point of the medical thing where you said, when the medical, then you have to accept that trans woman in the medical thing used to be a man. Why do I have to do that?
I'm not saying you have to accept used to be a man, used to have, or in some circumstances might still have male term genitalia. I'm not saying was a man, is a man, any of that. I'm talking about purely genitalia based off male, female, like that's just the terms that we use to describe it. And we can even stop using those. You need to disclose like what body type you have had, like what kind of genitalia you have had. You have to disclose like.
Right, and that's what we would consider sex, right?
Yeah.
Right. So a biological sex at that point would make you a biological man or female. All I'm saying is...
No, it wouldn't make you an anything. It would make you an owner of a dick or an owner of a vagina. It doesn't make you a male or a female.
See, that's the point where you can't... That's like all opinion right there, because you've just taken it past the whole... You've taken it past the whole scientific point, and you want to rebrand... Like, your opinion right there is rebranding it and just saying it's all nothing. It's just, oh, you got a dick, you got a vagina, it doesn't matter what you are, and then the male, female is just
medical
whatever you want to be.
Medical history matters for everybody. Like, your past affects your body and your body type, and it's important for people who are doing, like, life-altering surgeries or even just, like, a medical procedure that you need to...
That's not a thing you can change, though.
Right, you don't have to change it.
Hold on, but if there was a surgery for women that gave them the bone structure of men, it would immediately be illegal in all the weightlifting competitions.
That is pure speculation.
It's not. There are already certain like hip replacements and stuff that you can't have and compete in weightlifting competitions because they think it gives you an advantage.
But that's across the board. Like, that's not singling out a demographic of people. Anybody could have that kind of hip replacement surgery.
It's just specifically for that competition is what they're saying.
For that competition, but yeah, but what I'm saying is anybody who's competing can have that same surgery across the board.
Oh,
you're not singling out a demographic of people based off of that, because any demographic of people could need that type of surgery.
I haven't even heard the surgery.
So okay, that's it. that's a good argument, singling out a certain demographic of people. But I guess for me, it's like there are no like absolutes, right? Like in general, in almost every other case, if someone's trans, they are who they identify with. But there's also like other competing things, like the sanctity of competition, you know, which I think does have some amount of like worth that can compete with, you know, someone feeling like excluded from something.
Can I get one point in?
And they can. Oh, go ahead.
This is about, because we passed through it. When you said that the sex is only their genitalia, that's not true. Because there's literally, with that genitalia, there's different ways that we treat you medically with everything else. Like, we have you on mechanical ventilator, your lungs are different, your
I
heart's
understand
different.
that, and that's what my point is. That's why the medical history is important. But it still doesn't need to, you don't need to say, you know, oh, you were a man, now you're a woman. You don't need to have that dialogue at all. You just
I'm not saying that you have to say that. I am saying, just based on a scientific fact, because you say that that is a woman.
Yes.
Right?
A trans woman is a woman.
We agree that we will in public and everywhere else say that's a woman, right? We're going to be nice. I accept it. I'm not going to judge anybody over it. But the second that goes into anything that really matters to save that person's life,
because that's the only time that you need to talk about what happened with your body beforehand. You
agree with me.
I could have a hip replacement that I'm not going to have to talk about until it becomes medically relevant. Like, I don't need to tell anybody.
Right,
like, you don't have to talk about past medical procedures or how your body looked before it looks the way that it does now with anybody, unless it like affects you medically and your health.
But this is why I'm confused. This is why this is really confusing me, because you're saying two things at once. You're saying that because they got the surgery or the estrogen replacement, that they changed their biological sex and now a woman. And then immediately, if we talk about this, I'm not
saying they changed the biological sex. I don't hold biological sex as having weight other than medically. Like, it doesn't.
Okay, then cool. Then that was my confusion. I thought you were saying that this trans woman was a woman biologically.
It's dangerous to have conversations like that because it invalidates the experience. You'd be like, oh, well, biologically, you're never this. Because then it invalidates that. That's why I'm like, I don't hold sex to have any form of weight other than medically.
But I think, not to interrupt you again, but I think when you ignore that fact, people who want to be stuck on that fact won't go and accept trans people for being the way they are, because they'll be so stuck on that fact that you're denying. Does that make sense?
Stuck on the fact that,
because they're stuck on biological, and we can agree that the biological thing is they're still a biological male, but you go, oh, they're a woman, by denying the biological
I'm not on the page. I would never say, like, in reference to a trans person, they are a biological different, because I feel like that conversation is dangerous and invalidating to their experience. It doesn't need to be had. Like, you don't need to word it that way. You do not need to word it that way.
Go ahead, Parker. I thought you wanted to say something.
No.
I think you do need to word that way in order to have people of the opposing side that you don't believe in actually be able to slowly move towards the acceptance. And I think by denying that, they get caught up on that denial and then don't want to hear the next thing.
I'm not really following that. I'm not going to give weight to biological sex, and even talking about it, it's not important unless it's a medical procedure.
And I think we've run this conversation into the ground, but
we ran it into the ground the second it started.
Yeah. It was a horrible idea.
I thought it was good talk.
But just real quick, the whole argument we were saying is the same reasons why it would be important for medical history would be important in a weightlifting competition.
Right.
I'm not going to get behind that, because weightlifting isn't as important as like your physical health and well-being. Like, if somebody like,
a lot of weightlifters would disagree with you on that.
Well, that's interesting. It's been like 2 hours, guys. You just want to call it here?
No, let's do can we do one more? Can we do
We can. What do you want to do?
The Facebook one?
Yes. You're going to have to walk us through this one.
Oh, okay. So this person makes really provocative art She also did, I think it's a she, also did this like homoerotic stuff with guns.
It was fucking rad.
Can we show that on YouTube? Because it was actually not bad.
What?
The artwork.
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. Let's look.
If it's art, I think you can show it anyway. Even
not
if
on
it's like,
Facebook.
Even if it's like nudies.
Yeah, actually, yeah, exactly. Not on Facebook.
Well,
but this is what got her banned, right? The whole
yeah, that's the ban.
What was the deal with that?
I mean, my understanding is that it was probably banned because they took it to be a symbol of hate. Like they saw the Nazi symbol and didn't realize that she was making a statement about it. And I think,
and they just have an overall like no Nazi shit, even if it's artistic.
Even if you're making a statement about a larger issue at hand.
Yeah, I think it's their algorithms, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are getting caught with just having like
but she's still banned,
certain.
Though. The algorithm picked it up, but they like
they have
reached out to them like
the judge.
I think she now has she has since gotten her Facebook back, but it took like 2 weeks.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think I saw that in the article.
That's how she makes most of her money is by Facebook, like marketing on Facebook, and then people buy it from there on the marketplace, right?
People don't buy this sexy pic.
This is well.
I love it's so well done.
Because
it's so like provocative.
It is,
dude. It's provocative as shit. But there are little crazy gun nuts out there that are just like, this is how you would expect they're at home with their guns.
Oh yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like I'm pro Second Amendment, but I don't get like hella into my weapons or anything.
Well, it also in a way is making a statement on that toxic masculinity of like needing like guns and like all that violence, and then also being so opposed to homoeroticism. So that's another statement, is like calling out these people who would be terrified to learn that they had been mistaken for being gay.
Yeah.
And making a point like that. Like that's why it's so provocative that she's going after that unreasonable fear.
I think it's decent artwork. I probably wouldn't agree with her if I talked to her in person, like on most of her ideas. But I mean, good artwork's good artwork, man.
Well, art's supposed to evoke emotions, and
it did.
I definitely was like, "What the fuck?"
I'm not gonna lie, I cringed a little bit at first, just because it was uncomfortable. Like, ugh.
Well, it's supposed to be.
No, exactly. That's what.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man. I don't think she should have been banned in the first place.
What's weird, the whole thing that people are saying is weird, is that got banned, and the doctored video of Nancy Pelosi. Did you hear about that?
What happened with that?
They like slowed her down to make her seem drunk.
That's probably pretty funny.
But they left that up, and they took this down. Like, yeah. I mean, this is why Facebook needs to be fucking regulated. Is because
regulated.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did somebody say something has to be regulated?
I am the centrist. I'm in the middle. I'm for government regulation in certain cases with huge mega corporations like Facebook. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, because when you have this huge public space, and we've had this conversation before, me and Ryan, I think, have, and you start with the censorship, that's when stuff like this happens. Like you're saying, it's such a huge part of her business or whatever that this company just being able to go, well, we don't like that, so fuck you. When it's, I mean, you can't deny that Facebook is like a huge part of like American discussion, even if it's horrible discussion. Like,
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Facebook, I mean, just in general, when I was getting into politics at first, just reading people's Facebook comments on stuff, you'd be surprised how much that sways people's opinions, like, overall. Because you read one thing, oh, that makes a little bit of sense, and then you go on, you get a book or something, you start reading more into that. And then, because most people that you're even arguing with on Facebook, those aren't the people that you're trying to sway. You're just hoping somebody else reads it and hopes you make sense, and then you can sway them more to your opinion. But
I have a personal policy that I sometimes, the urge overcomes me, but I never get into political discussions on Facebook. It always just turns into an absolute shit show.
I used to
Like I made
so
one,
fun to watch. Love being friends with people who are politically active on Facebook because I'm just like, this is gonna blow up in flames, and I cannot wait to have this front row seat right now.
Well, the thing is, people go in fucking like they don't go in like easy going. Like you see something you disagree with, you go in, you fucking cock your gun, you get in your thing. Yeah. Like I made a post which I shouldn't have made. I don't know if I deleted it, but it was about how like on the whole abortion thing, how people never actually like debate the other side. They just like attack straw men for like both sides. Yeah. Oh my god, people came at my fucking like throat. This girl like Facebook messaged me saying like how like I was trying to take women's rights away and like all this stuff, and I'm like, I didn't pick a side. I criticized both sides, and I'm still. And then Baxley got in there, and then Steven Baxley got in there, and because he just loves.
What's he?
He just loves getting. No offense, Baxley, but he just loves getting the shit beat out of him on Facebook in political arguments. He's like a glutton for it.
He's just so wrong all the time.
Yeah,
like he's just. I mean, I don't.
And he picks the worst. Like, all right, let's play devil's advocate here. Maybe women's bodies don't belong to them, and he didn't actually say that, but no. He picks stuff like that. And he's just like, do you not read it through? Like,
actually, no.
Just
let's play devil's advocate here. That's fucking funny.
Hey, maybe women are useless sacks of shit, huh? Baxley. Fuck.
Yeah, maybe if you suck a dick, you don't deserve rights.
Baxley.
What are you doing, buddy?
This is gonna be a thing now. Baxley, stop it! Oh my god, Baxley.
We could make a t-shirt out of that. Baxley, stop.
Baxley.
I'm gonna say that to you now. Whenever you make like a thing, whenever you say some shit that's wildly inappropriate.
Nothing I say is wildly inappropriate.
Stop.
She's over here thinking otherwise, but nothing I say comes out of a place of hate. It might come out of a place of ignorance. I'll fucking give you that. I'm not the smartest person. See, I can't even get the fucking analogy right.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're not the smartest person in the shed? Is that what you're about to say?
I'm alone in the shed. Technically, I'm the smartest.
Still not the smartest person.
No, man. I don't think there's a lot of things. Like, with the whole trans, I don't think what I'm saying with the biological sex thing is an ignorant thing to say at all.
Some people would get incredibly offended.
No, I can see. Yeah. But but when they say that, they put me into the category of the actual ignorant people who, even though they're ignorant and have a hatred for these people, it doesn't change that biological fact. But they use that biological fact for hatred, you know what I mean? So then I get lumped into that.
Well, going back, the whole argument is like, it's not worth giving that much weight to. It's not worth discussing that heavily the biological aspect, because you're just giving more, like, talking about it and making it relevant gives people an argument to say that it's relevant when it isn't.
I don't like lies.
What the?
I think it's the overall lie, like that.
Ew.
That thing.
I'm sorry, but ew. A lie?
It bugs me. This dishonesty bugs me like that.
How is it dishonest?
Because it's the biological sex. I mean, you know my opinion on it. Because I think that the person's not.
Are you saying that trans people are lying?
No. I'm saying societally that.
Baxley, stop!
But yeah, you guys want to. That was a good podcast. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Cool.
Next time, we'll just spend the whole time talking about if trans people should be allowed to play sports. We won't.
That's all this podcast is.
We'll just cut straight to the chase.
Oh, shit. Okay, everybody. Thank you for watching Preferably Biased. Next week, we'll have all of our past shows up on iTunes, Podbeans, and all that jazz. Please like, share, and subscribe. I think I'm going to cut this up into like certain segments and put them up this week instead of like the one long thing.
Sure.
But bam, motherfuckers, we got everything going. Have a good one. That was good.